ourselves. We may end up doing something that harms someone else. Okay. But as long as it was not our intention to do so, and as soon as we recognize that, wait a minute, what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking is harmful, and we are able to restrain ourselves, then our integrity is strong. Because what does that mean? Our integrity is strong. We are back to that, at least at a subconscious level, that instinct of knowing that whatever is because of interconnectedness. Okay. Whatever is because of interconnectedness. And it is not an absolute where I push you and then you push me back. It's not that absolute. But we do witness this kind of behavior where we push and then we are pushed back. But this should not be the motivation for how we act. When I push, I'm pushed back. That's for children. Okay, you're not children anymore. So we don't have to tell you that. That it should not be the motivation to make you not push when you don't want to be pushed, when you don't want to be pushed back. But that is equivalent, but it's not absolute. But rather to understand that the very ethics, the very code of conduct that I consider to be, that I idealize, is not some foreign thing that I'm trying to adopt, but rather it's seeking to return to my true nature, seeking to return to true who I really am. Okay, so that's why in one of the an extensive text by Jason Kappa, when he was younger, he wrote this extensive commentary on the perfection of wisdom, and he got to the point where he was talking about ethics, and then he said ethics, when we perfect ethics, is at the moment when we fully understand the true nature of reality. They come hand in hand. So since what we are, since because this is such because this is such a inevitable outcome of understanding the nature of reality, then you could say the nature of the deepest aspect of our being is ethics itself. So the reason that we feel we need a list of things that tells us this is ethical, this is not ethical, is because we have lost contact with our own nature, with our own being. So to know what is ethical or what is not ethical, and for it to stick, where you don't have to say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound so good, but it doesn't make sense, where you don't have to go into that an unnecessary juggling in your mind, is to constantly being honest with what is actually happening with you. Okay, being honest with what is actually happening with you at any moment. Okay, and then being honest with it and allow whatever is happening to you, show you what is connected to it. Why is it present? Why is it arising? Okay. And by having that openness, where you're not immediately passing judgment, because passing judgment is almost like saying, okay, this is the end. There's nothing further than this. So when we say this is the end, nothing further than this, then we are no longer able to continue to have new discoveries. We are no longer able to continue on the path, because we are convinced we have reached the end. Okay. So without passing judgment of absolute good, absolute bad, absolute right, absolute wrong, but we are simply observing this is what's happening and allow what's happening to guide you as to this is why this came into being. These are the interplay. This is the interplay that give rise to this. Okay, and one of the interplays could be a distance from the core of our being. So what should we what should be aligned with? And now what should we hold as valuable? What of values? Whatever is in alignment, supports, whatever supports your true nature, whatever supports connection with your true nature. That is what we should hold with the greatest value. And understand that a lot of the things that we consider to be uh, some of the things, some behaviors, some habits we find difficult when, especially if it is a habit that we know that we should take on. If it's a behavior that we should begin to display in the world, and we're finding it difficult. So remind yourself, it's not difficult because it is something outside of you, but rather remind yourself the reason that I value this is because it is integral to my being. And that way we won't find yourself fighting to be ethical. You want to be spontaneously ethical. You also want to be spontaneously compassionate because that is, in a sense, that is your wholeness. Your wholeness is spontaneity. Your wholeness is complete openness. Whenever you try to isolate yourself to any specific thing, you're no longer aligned and you're in danger of not be able to hold integrity. All right, I did say I was gonna make this interactive, but it started interactive. So let's return to a bit of interactivity. Uh, so any questions, anything you would like to say?
I've got a question.
Yes.
This is when you mentioned when ethics comes in by avoiding the intention to willingly break what's the wholeness of the other.
Hmm.
Uh, so this this kind of it makes me wonder about the subway example
Hmm.
where someone is acting in an unethical way.
Hmm.
That seems to be their wholeness of self. So like their wholeness of self seems to be being this loud person on the
Hmm.
subway.
Hmm.
And you're telling them to stop making noise could be harming them,
Hmm. Yeah, that's
right?
very.
So how do you navigate a state where the person is unaware that
Hmm.
they're acting out of integrity
Hmm.
because it's not necessarily that they have your sense of integrity.
Hmm.
So like how do you keep your integrity, keep the other person's integrity, without being an asshole if the person really believes
Hmm.
that yelling on the subway is the thing to do that day,
Hmm.
and maybe they're a liberated being giving
Yeah.
teachings.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're just not able to register them.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. I like that. I like that example. Okay, thank you. Let me address it. So, let's say I'm going to take the very last part of of what you mentioned, that maybe that person is liberating sentient beings. So that person is a omniscient being who who knows by coming to the subway and being acting this way is going to liberate sentient beings. So he's testing the integrity of everyone there, you could say. And the test for my integrity is to tell him to stop doing that. If I don't tell him to stop doing that, then I'm going to be out of integrity. I may not be able to stop him, but at least I'm holding on to my integrity. And indeed, if he's an enlightened being, there's nothing I can do to stop his enlightened activity at that time. And for some reason, if that enlightened being believed that getting on the unless that enlightened being is there to liberate everyone except me. Okay. And indeed, the thing is, these kinds of examples uh, where we give examples like that, yes, there are very rare situations where indeed that could be an enlightened being liberating the people, liberating maybe one person in the car, right? By behaving that way, maybe there's one person who has the perfect seeds to be liberated, and that's the skillful way to liberate that being. Okay, I don't know, but all I know is that is not in alignment with what I consider to be it, whatever what I consider. So I must act from my place of integrity, just like that person is acting from, if that is indeed their integrity, they're acting from their place of integrity. So you acting from your place of integrity shouldn't stop someone else from acting from their place of integrity. And this is a beautiful thing I have to say. I fought with uh, for a very long time. Something I read where this topic was sort of presented about integrity, where alignment with your true nature, and the example was given, and you could say this is absolutely extreme cases. They're not real, but it is to make a point. If indeed your true nature is to be a thief, you should be a thief. If indeed your true nature is to be a murderer, if your true nature is to be a drunk, then you have to abide by your nature. And if by your nature, then you will, I don't know, that is your spiritual practice, you could say. Then that is who you are. And that is who, if that is indeed who you are, then no one can really stop you. Because that is who you are. That is what you are. But these are extreme. This is uh, sort of like an analogy of extreme to sort of show you what does it mean for something to be someone's true nature. And if indeed that is true nature, then there's nothing you can do. That's what it will be. But practically speaking, generally speaking, it's not 90, it's not the majority of the time the person who gets into a subway and is being disruptive is a Buddha. That is not the general case. The general case, when someone is doing that, that's someone who usually gets arrested because they're so disruptive. Maybe they liberated a sentient being while they were, maybe. But you as this is what I'm talking about, being honest. Honestly speaking, this is what I know. Honestly speaking, this is what I'm perceiving. And you have to be honest with that. And then be open to whatever interpretation that can be for that. So that if you can show me, oh yeah, actually that was a Buddha who came to liberate Mariam. And then you show me, oh, okay, okay, now, okay, all right, all right, all right, all right. Now, does that mean that next time I see someone behaving that way, I'm gonna look for the sign that you pointed to? But at the same time, if my value hasn't changed, uh, there's this person who's seemingly drunk who's yelling at this woman. They don't know each other. She's been in the train for a very long time. She got on the train earlier than this person. This person comes in, looks around, and then she sees this woman sitting by herself. Oh, by herself. Good target. Okay. Okay. Never mind that. Because that's me projecting. But starts yelling at her. And then she's, you can see fear in her, right? I don't care if that is a real Buddha coming there to really save her. That Buddha is expecting me to stop him. Okay, that Buddha is expecting me to stop him because that is the general thing. If he doesn't want me to stop him, then he frees time and do whatever miraculous thing he wants to do, so that I don't behave, so that I don't even see anything. Okay, so and of course, be open. Until we are enlightened, we don't really fully know, right? Until we are close to enlightenment, we can't really have certainty about what we know. But what we know now, we have to be honest with it. Okay? We have to be honest with what we know. As far as I know, that behavior is not acceptable. As far as I know, what I'm perceiving, that woman is not enjoying what this guy is doing. Okay? Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
I also had just to follow up on that. Um, so you mentioned this like tendency to pass judgment,
Yeah.
remaining in the interplay, and
Mhm.
as you mentioned the extreme examples, right? It made me think of like it made me judge like some of them immediately as you mentioned them. So like the murder example, the
Mhm.
alcoholic example,
Mhm.
and like I wanted to use this as a segue to like instances in my personal life where, like, for example, there's this thing that I do sometimes where I'll be on a Hinge, for example, and then I'll set my location as a foreign country somewhere, right? And I'll just see the way, like, I just wanted to see the way, like, I would respond to people
Mhm.
who would, like, in a different location to me. And it tends to be from this place of I know them, right? Like, I know what they're about already.
Mhm.
And like the question is how you strengthen that tendency to stay in that place of interplay.
Mhm. Yeah. It, it is not be rigid with the present moment. Be open to all kinds of possibilities that can arise in this very moment. Um, you mentioned that, like, let me play with, if I do this, let's see what happens, right? And we all want to do that. But the thing is, um, are you upholding integrity? Are you doing something that you yourself will not chastise yourself for? Okay. And there are certain things that we would chastise ourselves for where we shouldn't, but we find it something that is chastisable. And we have to re-examine that. So it's constantly re-examining what our values, constantly examining what we consider to be the wholeness of me or the wholeness of that, constantly re-examining these things. So that's the staying in alignment with the interplay. uh, what what was yesterday possibly could continue to have the appearance of being the same today, but not necessarily. And being open to that, being acceptance of that. But well, you have to be able to accept it because there's nothing we can do about it. That is the nature of things already set as being interconnectedness. We cannot change the nature of things to be come the opposite of that. So um, in a practical way, uh, have the intention to play, where play is not something that is not in alignment, where play is not something that takes you puts you out of integrity. Remember, integrity. So interestingly, if you decide to play and the play is not in line with integrity, is not doesn't have integrity, that means it's not really in alignment with play. Play is already happening. There's no need to try to create play. All you have to do is simply let be. Okay.
Phuntsok, I had a question.
Mhm.
Well, I had actually two observations. One was just totally random, but um, this, like how you were talking about our search for this permanent thing that will
Mhm.
never, like, will always be there, and that it's impossible, and yet we're constantly doing it all the time. Just made me think of like how sometimes we think enlightenment is unattainable, and yet our whole lives we're actually trying to find this thing that's unattainable. I
Mhm.
think it's funny.
Oh, yes, that's true, isn't it?
Uh, But then I was
Uh,
thinking, yeah, I was thinking about more in around integrity, like this notion of spontaneity as a natural aspect of our beings,
mhm,
and how sometimes like the Eightfold Path has these ethics outlined in it,
mhm,
and um, like we can, or anything. I think you mentioned the 10 something, maybe the 10 commandments or something
mhm,
like we kind of want to push against things, right?
mhm,
And that's sort of like a spontaneity to being told how to behave or what's right or what's wrong.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and so, like, ethics can be dangerous too because they can actually push us in the opposite direction.
mhm.
And so, I was curious
Yeah.
about that, like, especially with Buddhism that has like so many um, prescriptions and how to be and what to do and all these things, and that actually it
Mhm,
might make us, push against it more than align with it or something.
mhm. Yeah. Uh, what the thing is to remember that if we are able to, you could say, really understand the what the fixed thing that we are seeking is not a thing, but rather an understanding that is unshakable. But it manifests as though we're looking for something that is unshakable, something that is permanent. But rather, this always this thing that we're looking for is an understanding about the nature of reality that is where once we arrive at this understanding doesn't, I guess when I say it doesn't change to a different kind of understanding, where it always remain this understanding. I understand that the nature of reality is this. Okay. And once we have come into a direct understanding of that, then you could say the tendency to look for that permanent will be satiated. In a sense, it found something that remains, always remains. That is, the nature of reality is this.
Hmm.
And then, since that connects you directly to a universe whose nature is spontaneity, whose nature is openness, then we will find ourselves aligned with that, where it's not a struggle to try to be open. It's not a struggle to try to be spontaneous. We are struggling to be spontaneous because we are grasping onto we are seeking to grasp onto, we are grasping onto a notion of permanence. And because this is not in alignment with truth, then it cannot be, it's something that is unreliable. And because it is unreliable, we grab, we think we got it, we don't have anything, we keep looking for, we try to grab something else. We try to grab something else. We keep trying to grab things rather than align ourselves with the understanding of the nature of the reality that we are experiencing. So, and again, when there is intention to be ethical, we're not quite there yet. And it's a struggle because we have habits, energies that we have picked up that makes it difficult to seemingly pick up something new, a new behavior, a new uh, a new way of relating, especially when we have the habit of already relating, a habit of already behaving a certain way, right? But it's to really remind ourselves that those qualities and attributes that we consider to be um, uh, the objects of aspiration, of evolved aspirations, they are already the very nature of our being. So you could say ethics is not the intention, real ethics is not the intention to be ethical, but rather acting from the place of for pure spontaneity. That itself is ethical. And the same with morality and the same with everything else. So the sense of satisfaction that we seek, the sense of contentment that we seek, the reason that we are still looking is because we are looking for it, that we have a specific it's like it should be one of these things that came from that that arose from the nature of reality. Let me say, it should be one of these things that I encounter, forgetting that anything that you encounter is something that is simply something that arose, something that came out from the nature of reality. So it is just a projection of reality. It is not reality itself.
Mm-hmm.
So when we keep thinking that satisfaction, contentment will come from finally finding one of these things, we keep deceiving ourselves and we keep not finding it. But the thing is, the very satisfaction we seek in those things that arise, the contentment that we seek in those things that arise, is the natural experience. It's a natural beingness when you are in full acceptance of there's no one thing that exists really. When you're in full acceptance of that, when you're in full acceptance of absolute openness, not a relative openness, not a little bit of openness, but that the universe is absolute. Reality itself is absolute openness. Reality itself is absolute interplay. Absolute interplay. There is not one thing that you can take out of it that is not interplay. To the point where it has to be said, just in case the mind is looking outside, where it says emptiness also is empty. The interplay itself is interplay. There's not something out that is not interplay that becomes interplay. Absolute interplay. And it is within this very interplay, you could say, complete alignment with this interplay, complete acceptance of it. That's where finally we will find the contentment that we seek. Finally, we will find that sense of satisfaction that we seek. And it begins again, and this is a very important thing that we unfortunately we keep missing as a crucial instruction on how to arrive at this, directly understanding it. The reality, the true nature of reality is not exotic. It is this very experience that we're having right now. This is the true nature of reality. This very experience, this very thing that we're doing right now. Let me put it this way. It is constructed directly, wholly, totally out of true nature of reality. It is true nature of reality that we are also seeing. And if we keep that in mind, then the mirage or the projection that it creates that we call reality, we'll be able to see beyond that and see the absolute interplay, the absolute openness. Okay. So the crucial instruction of how to see this is don't look for true nature of reality outside of your immediate experiences. Don't look for some exotic object to contemplate, to deconstruct, and somehow because it is so exotic, it will give you a direct experience of the true nature of reality. It will give you an experience of authentic being. But rather being honest with, I'm feeling lazy today. Let me look at laziness. What is laziness made out of? Laziness is made out of absolute interplay. And resting in that, the natural experience is bliss, freedom, spontaneity. And I think I maybe went a bit further than the question.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. It's, oh yeah, almost 2 hours since we've been here. All right, let's do our closing meditation. If anyone, no questions. Okay.
Well, it's not really a question, but
Uh-huh.
it's something that came up. Uh, and like, sorry to keep everyone here, but it's just like this is the one time that I get to share these weird things that I come across. But I came across this video where someone was explaining how when we're children, uh, we never really encounter a mirror, right? So, like until it's like I guess we don't see mirrors, we don't see our own face for a really long time and recognize that it's our face.
Mhm.
And this linked to this conversation that you and I had about how we construct ourselves, right? Particularly based on the opinions of others.
Mhm.
And I think it connected nicely to this example that she gave where she mentioned that we're always like looking for clues from people. Like we're always like most of what we see as ourselves from an early age comes from what we're seeing others doing or how we're seeing others responding to us. Never actually seeing this face. Like I'm never. It's only when I'm on Zoom where I see like face communicating, for example. And like I think that's an interesting example of this interplay happening there, where until you realize that, oh, I have a face in a mirror, and even in the mirror, it's not really a static thing as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know. I just thought that was like a cool thing that I noticed this week that I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So this points also interestingly when you're mentioning that uh, it's not that interplay has stopped. That's why we are in samsara, right? Interplay can't stop. If you exist, this is proof of interplay. So there is seemingly an instinct of understanding interplay, like the child you mentioned, understanding there is no absolute me. I am the result of interplay. And then, unfortunately, ignorance comes in and say, okay, I got it from here. Interplay with this, interplay with that, interplay with this. And that's you. It's interesting. I would say the instinct is a kind of a wisdom. But unfortunately, somebody else comes over and say, okay, I know better now. Let me take over.
That's like the guy who's shouting in the subway.
Yeah.
It's like challenging your integrity.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Thank you very much, everyone. Always wonderful to share these with you. And again, if you have a topic that you would like us to talk, like to present, please uh, let us know. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's do our closing meditation. I hope it won't be too long. I'll make it very quick. Okay. So remember the experience you had before when you were meditating. And as you're remembering it, begin to taste it again. And as soon as you have the slightest taste of it, take a nice deep breath. And as you release the breath, let yourself rest in that taste. Let yourself dissolve in that taste so that only that taste remains. And feel and have validate, confirm, yeah, the body is in that place. I feel the signs in the body. I feel the signs in the breath. I feel the signs in the mind. rejoice, interplay. So what we call me, ourself, is a interplay. All a bunch of different elements, all saying me. And feel the readiness for any part to go to the aid of any other part, and not thinking I'm helping that part, but rather I'm helping me. And sense and feel everyone exactly where you are, sitting in a circle, and begin to view each other in the same way that the different parts of you call themselves me, and feel the same instinct ready to go help one another, and the same as this is helping me. And this becomes so strong that it creates an appearance in the center of our circle, a bright light, a bright presence. And as the sense of me begins to expand, that bright light in the center expands and gets brighter and brighter and brighter until there's no longer any sense of other. Everyone is just absorbed into this bright presence, and everything is being absorbed into this bright presence. Everyone in your apartment, everyone in your house, everyone in your building, everyone in your neighborhood. It continues to expand. All the pets, all the trees, all the plants continues to expand until the entire earth is just this presence of light. And we're feeling the instinct to go when the tree is calling us, I'm helping myself. When the river is calling us, we go to help it. That's me helping myself. The ocean, the trees, the mountains, the birds, the different animals, even people who share different beliefs. We feel the instinct growing stronger, ready to go help me. And our acknowledgement of this more boundless me is so strong, we no longer need a visual representation to remind us. Then that bright presence begins to shrink. And as it shrinks, it reveals all different varieties, the different diverse beings and life and appearances. But it leaves a shimmer of its bright, of its light. And it comes again to the very center of our circle. And we have a very strong sense. When I sincerely help myself, I help everyone. When I sincerely help everyone, I help myself. And with this, that light bright presence becomes rays of light that enters into each one of our hearts. And dedicate. Feel the merit energy of our gathering, of the synergistic merit energy that we collected together. And think of something that is you're sincerely concerned about and direct this merit energy to help address that concern. And one day, may we sincerely have this Kyo Di Kyo Kun Sanam Yeshe Tsongzok Shin Sanam Yeshe Le Chung Wei Damba Kunyi Topa Sho. And be ready to come out of the meditation with that intention. Take a nice deep breath and release. And as you release that breath, feel yourself directly connecting with your immediate surroundings through a sense of touch. Notice the temperature, the feel of your clothes, the cushion. Notice the different sounds and allow your eyes to deliberately notice colors, shapes, shadows, lights. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Until next time.